With that said, let's get to, how about this? The championship week picks on the College Football Betting Show. Cannot believe we're here. Feels like it was just July, and I was breaking down the Florida Gators over-under win total in the SEC East. Yet here we are. It is now December as I record, and we are going to look at the 5 conference championship games. We're going to start with the one that I think, to me, has the most stakes, right? I think, look, the ACC championship game, doesn't matter what happens, nobody's getting into the playoff. I think you can argue that the SEC and Big Ten, Georgia and Michigan have already punched their ticket, and you can make a case that TCU, even if they lose, is in. I don't think you can make that case with USC. USC needs to win. They are in, lose, and they are almost certainly out. And so let's get into this one in the Betfred Sportsbook. USC is a 2.5-point favorite. USC, of course, in this game, the over-under between USC and Utah is 67.5 points. And as I look at this game, what's interesting to me is a couple things. One, unlike, say, the SEC or the Big Ten, these two teams are not only kind of equals, but they have played each other before, and that's what really stands out to me, right? Sometimes, you get a big game, a meaningful game, impactful game in these conference championships, and the two teams haven't played each other, and you have no kind of barometer of what to expect. That's not the case with USC Utah. These two teams played in Salt Lake City about 6 weeks ago. Utah wins 43-42 in a thriller, which of course to date is the only loss of the USC season. With that said, though, one thing I would warn you about, I'd be careful about taking too much out of that original USC Utah game, and let me explain why, okay? The reason I would be hesitant to do so, a lot of stuff is going to be different Friday night in Las Vegas, Allegiant Stadium, as opposed to what we saw a few weeks ago in Salt Lake City. One, the game was in fact in Salt Lake City. True road game for USC, true home game for Utah. The weather was not great. It was cold. It was icy. There was a little bit of precipitation. And I think on the field, there's some stuff that you got to be wary or hesitant to really dive into and use as it pertains to this game. From the Utah perspective, first off, they scored a ton of points, which is great. They're great at what they do, but they didn't really win the way they traditionally do. We know they have an elite run offense, but in that game, Cam Rising threw for over 400 yards against USC, by far the most passing yards he has had all year. And I'm sorry, I think it is going to be tough for Cam Rising to replicate that against USC. At the same time, from the USC perspective, Caleb Williams did what Caleb Williams does, but the run game was also very effective for USC. Travis Dye was awesome. Keep in mind, Travis Dye is not playing in this game. But at the same time, Austin Jones has stepped up. Raleek Brown, the 5-star freshman, has stepped up. And it's also worth noting, again, that Jordan Addison got hurt in that game. He has come back. He has played really well, including a great game against UCLA a few weeks ago. And so when I look at this game, one, be hesitant to take too much from the previous matchup. But two, what I would also say is I think these teams, and certainly USC, has evolved, right? Especially the last couple weeks with USC. Now, they were always good. They were always whatever. But what has so impressed me about USC, we've talked about it for 3 or 4 weeks. The last time I recorded a show was before the UCLA game of college football betting, I should say. I've obviously done the Aaron Torres pod, a ton of them. But I bring it up because before the UCLA game, and certainly before the Notre Dame game, what was the conversation? Well, I don't know. USC, can they handle the physicality up front? Can they handle this? Can they handle that? And with USC, the conversation really was, remember, if you remember the last time we recorded, it was off of the day where UCLA lost to Arizona to knock them out of the playoff picture, and Oregon lost to who was it? Washington at home to knock them out of the playoff picture. And we sat there and said, well, USC still has a path, but man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man, are they really going to go 3-0 in their next 3 games? Well, to their credit, they've done they're 66% of the way there, right? Knock on wood, 6-6, but they're 2/3 of the way there. And what so impresses me, people keep doubting them and they keep elevating their game. Against UCLA, obviously Caleb Williams was incredible. But really what stands out to me was that last week was the week that, Notre Dame, the way they run the football, I just don't know if USC can win. And what does USC do? I think they implemented a game plan that is going to be very similar to what they do on Friday night in Las Vegas. Again, dome stadium, indoor conditions, no weather to worry about. And this is what they're going to do. Against Notre Dame, they basically said, yeah, you guys run the crap out of the ball. We don't want to deal with that. So we're going to try to get up early. We're going to try to jump on you, and we're going to try to keep pressure on you so that you have to pass the ball. And so go back and look at that Notre Dame game. It was amazing. Notre Dame finished that game. I looked it up. I was blown away. They only rushed the ball 26 times in that game because, again, they couldn't just lean on the football, lean on the offensive line. In the previous 4 games, here was Notre Dame's rush attempts. 36 attempts against Boston College, 34 against Navy, 47 in that win against Clemson, 56 in that win against Syracuse about 5-6 weeks ago now. So Notre Dame found a blueprint, and USC basically was like, we're not going to let you implement that blueprint at all. And if you watch that game, every time Notre Dame scored, every time they'd cut into the lead, USC jumped right back out on them. Caleb Williams, aggressive. Obviously, we all think Caleb Williams is the Heisman Trophy favorite. But I just bring it up because I think that's the game plan in Vegas on Friday night. Get the ball first. And by the way, it is worth noting, this is a Friday night game. So if you told your wife or your kids we're doing something, that only something you're doing is sit in front of the TV and watching Caleb Williams and the boys, okay? So when I look at this game, back to the game itself, when I look at this game, what stands out to me and what I truly believe, and I do truly believe this, is that I believe that the blueprint is there for USC. Get on Utah, get on them early, put pressure on them so that they can't just simply, again, rely on that run game and that run offense in this game. In terms of my Betfred best bet, I'll tell you, I actually do like USC for 2 straight weeks, really for the entire season. We keep saying, we keep hearing, we keep listening. The conversation is what? Well, USC's good, but at some point, all this is going to catch up to them. They're too young. They're too inexperienced, too many transfers, not enough depth on the front line and the front 7 of the defense. They keep finding ways to win. I think they get one more win right into the playoff where they'll have their hands full against Georgia or Michigan. I think they win. I think they cover Friday night in Vegas. And boy, oh boy, what a story that would be.